Summit North America. Want to thank our sponsors, PXP Financial for sponsoring the stage, Fiserv, Metropolitan Commercial Bank, MainCard.io, Internet Vikings, Fast Track, and Galaxy Gaming. Our next session is on Payments 2.0, another great session talking about the evolution of payments within the gaming industry. I'm excited to introduce Sue Page, who's the CEO of Neosurf for North America, as well as my former colleague, Justin Parsons. He and I work together at Sightline. So, Sue, take it away.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'd like to let everyone else have an opportunity to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do. And as a little icebreaker, I'm also going to ask you what your favorite dinosaur is. Who wants to go? Who wants to go first?
My name is Justin Parsons. I'm with Pavilion Payments. I would say my favorite dinosaur is the Stegosaurus. Small head, big back, that type of thing. Seems very unique.
Steve?
That's a good one. My name's Steve McAleer. I run risk and payments over at Jackpocket. My favorite dinosaur? Probably a raptor. Small, fast, hunts you down.
T-Rex. Jurassic Park popped in my head. Yeah, that's a good question. My name is Leighton Webb. I'm with PayNearMe. We're a payment service provider, and I oversee the gaming division within PayNearMe.
My name is Tiago. I'm the CEO of Aurum Solutions. I think after being the third or the fourth, I really struggle because I don't know any more dinosaurs. So I know exactly, right? So that's unfair. So I'll go with T-Rex as well then. There you go. It's the only one I know.
Yes, I share the same challenge here, but I have a hack. I would say I don't remember specifically. My 8-year-old son would probably remember better, like a dozen different types. But generally, as a group, those who fly, well, I don't know if they consider. They kind of survived, some of them, in a way. Beyond that, I'm Liron. Let me read. My title is actually incorrect. I'm still a VP. I work in BetMGM. I look after payments, risk, and fraud. I've been in this industry for a few years. Looking forward for today.
All right. Thank you for humoring me. I appreciate it. So as a payments company, I always find the use of Payments 2.0 is kind of interesting because it's always about transaction speed and ease, and I thought this is what we were already doing, but let's just have a quick fire round and ask you all very quickly in one sentence, what does Payments 2.0 mean to you? And I'm going to start with you, Justin.
Yeah, I would say a little bit more effortless. It's kind of like the Ubers of the world. You don't even think about paying for that, and I think that's where Gaming 2.0 payments will eventually need to be in order to make it a more successful industry as a whole.
Fast, painless, frictionless, safe, funds in and funds out of a player's wallet.
Yeah, for me, it's about speed, choice, and convenience for both the end user and the operator.
Tiago, I think you have a little story for us.
Exactly. Well, I have a little story to tell about this. So she said one sentence. I'm going to go, no, I'm going to go with the full story because I can. Exactly. But I also have 5 words for you. Frictionless payments that impact real life, So my point of the story is, for us, Europeans coming to this country, we always found a very cash-heavy world. I think in Europe we've been with less cash or cashless society for longer. And yesterday I met the best ever Uber driver. Took me to New York and then waited for me to have a meeting to bring me back. Now, on the way back, obviously, he didn't want to use Uber. So I said, that's all right, we'll just sort ourselves out. Arrive here, I didn't have cash to pay, right? And I was like, I introduced the man to sending him a link, and he just got the money using Revolut. And it was like, you just changed my life, Now, he texted me this morning, actually, so this is better, saying, another private client, I've requested a payment using a link, and he paid using a link. So that's for me what Payments 2.0 is, and I think that's just impacting real people, gig economy, not just big enterprises. So
You also impact big enterprises. If somebody from Uber was here, they will be really upset.
Oh, no, yeah. That's why I didn't say his name.
You're breaking the business model. But in a sentence, I think it's a paradigm shift. I think we've matured. And I think at the beginning, from a gaming perspective, it was mainly around getting the payment, success rates. And then I think we started to say, okay, let's make the economics work and make it more efficient. And I think we're now moving into, now let's make sure that it's also more secure and more safe. So I think this is where we're going. It's now combining all of those things together.
Wonderful. That was more than one sentence, but I'll let you go. Okay, question 2. Let's get into the... You told the story, okay. We'll talk about the patchwork quilt, so I'm going to talk to the operators first. What improvements do you think the payments companies can make that's going to better assist you when you start to navigate this complex web of regulations? And Steve, to you first. You know, we know that the market's driven by player experience, right? Is the priority to continually improve that customer journey, or do we need to be focusing on regulation or fraud, or is it the way that we can combine the both?
Yeah, I think both actually complement each other. You know, the new regulations and the new fraud trends oftentimes that come about, you know, they might be a little bit, have a little more friction at first, but, you know, these wonderful payment companies often come up with more frictionless solutions to adapt to those sorts of things. So obviously you don't want to compromise player journey, but you're kind of left with no choice because if you don't follow regulations and you allow a lot of fraud to come through your platform, you're probably going to get shut down, and nobody wants that. So you got to start there. So you might need to sacrifice some player journey. But again, thanks to the likes of Leighton and Justin and their companies, and your company as well, Sue, we can get past those with more frictionless solutions. So,
thank you for that. Liron, your thoughts. Are you looking to payments companies? Are you looking to us to provide, a more efficient sharing of data? How do you incorporate this on the product side?
Absolutely. The more I can get, the better, and the less effort that I have to invest in my product, and I can consume from any of my third parties, increase their business proposition significantly.
So we're talking speed and simplicity for the consumer, but we also need speed and simplicity for the operator from the integration side as well. Leighton, from your point of view, from the payment side, what tools can we provide that we're not already providing that assist the operator here, that also contribute to a more seamless and secure experience?
Yeah, for me it starts with, if you think about payments and your payments platform, as a blueprint or the architecture, how are you designing that? How are you setting the foundation so when you add additional tools at different tender types that you haven't created a foundation that's going to create a mess, frankly, for the end user. So I think you have to approach it, for lack of a better word, more holistically, because many times what you can see is over a period of time, the payments experience has started one place and morphed, things have been added to a different tool sets that ultimately you create a poor user experience. And when I think about payments, I always start with the consumer, not with the operator. Who's most important is the consumer. And the consumer shouldn't know that we exist, right? It shouldn't be any additional steps that they would normally take using other applications and other different verticals. So I start with, to answer the question, really, what is that foundation? What is it built upon? Is it flexible? Is it architected in a way that as the industry, new payment tenders, new fraud tools, AI, what have you, become available, that you've structured it in that way so that ultimately it continues to maintain the integrity, the positive user experience.
And so then that ultimately leads to more complexity, more complex tools. We've got players demanding more choice, additional faster payment method options. How do the back office and finance teams cope with that increased volumes and speed? So I'm going to go to you, Steve. We've got more and more of these payment methods that are being presented, payment services that all have the same payment options coming into wallets. So how does that impact on your back office?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of work that goes in when you integrate a new payment method, and there's new technology and such that comes. Lots of new data streams, new data to interpret, new alerting, new reporting, and you put all those things together, and then you got to actually translate it down to the operational teams and train them and get them up to speed on those things. And then, also in the reverse direction, those operational teams are going to feed back up to you what works and what doesn't work. and you sort of have to go from there. So there's definitely a lot of challenges, but they can be overcome.
Liron, have you found tools that are helping? Are they mitigating the issues, or are they creating any further challenges?
Sorry?
Have you found tools that are helping you to mitigate these issues?
Yes, there's definitely different tools, and we're constantly looking at what can we do to the same point that I mentioned earlier. As an operator, you have multiple balls to juggle on an every given day. And the more efficient you become in transitioning your development resources towards areas that solve multiple problems, the quicker you get results. So it's really important for us when we do these type of checks to really identify which are the tools. We are constantly looking and learning what are the different capabilities that are out there.
So Tiago, I know you have answers to this.
And I'm just going to go start with, I think Liron is looking for tools, so I'm just going to give him my business card.
Anyone else, you can collect them at the door.
I have been preaching about this for a long, long time, so I think you know this for a while. So I'm answering your question with a little riddle I've developed with time, all right? Which is like, if I look, my name is Tiago. I'm this fantasy person. I'm a finance professional. I work for a global company. My global company has millions of deposits, millions of withdrawals in sometimes multiple, for you guys, states, but sometimes multiple geographies with heavy regulation, with multiple payment methods. I have multiple banks and in multiple currencies, and I need to report sometimes using complex company structures. So, and you ask me, well, do you work in a bank, in financial services? No, I work in gambling, right? And unfortunately, I think that, I'm a little outsider in this group. No, we do financial software, reconciliation software, which is sometimes seen as, or forgotten about. But my point is, we come from banking. We come from financial services. This has been going on in their world for 30 plus years, 20 plus years. Finance, they have access to different resources, different technology. In gaming, especially in the States, because it's quite young, you guys are still, I think people are still not understanding the dimension of the problem, right? As in transactions volumes, you holding effectively millions of dollars of money that doesn't belong to you, belongs to your players. And that money needs to be segregated, needs to be really well looked after. Regulation is only going up. You have multiple payment solutions, as you were saying, working with all of them, because you have to. More payment solutions, the better experience for the player. And I think that's the pressure. So the solution is technology, but not technology because I want to sell software. It's technology that streamlines operations. The solution is not hiring more people or doing more of the same. Is looking outside of the box. Going back to Leighton. In payments, you think about the player. I think in back office operations, you need to think about who else has a business similar to mine. That's not my business. It's like you're not in the gaming business. You're in the business of almost the business of banking, the business of holding millions. It just happens that because it's nothing like e-commerce, right? E-commerce, you make a payment, you get a T-shirt. A lot of people get confused. They think gaming is similar to e-commerce. It's not. It's similar to banking, similar to financial services. Money in, money out, multiple currencies. I'll shut up so I got the message. I got the look. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to change tack a little bit. Thank you. Let's talk about real-time payments. FedNow and others. Rollout's been slow. Is it starting to have an impact? Is there a demand? Leighton, what's your thoughts? What are you seeing?
On RTP, I can't quite hear with the
Sorry,
air
it's
conditioning.
really loud.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't hear me either.
Yeah.
Real-time payments.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you got to break that into two things when you think about real-time payments. So there's the disbursement side, RTP, and then the request for payment. So on the disbursement side, that's working well. Operators are using that today. So yes, to answer that question. The work needs to be done, though, on the receivable side of it, so the RFP side. And that comes down to two main factors. Number one is the number of banks that are accepting RFP and support that. There's not a significant number of banks today, so it's not available in a large degree. And then secondly, I think it's going to come down to user experience. If you think about that transaction, I'm going to deposit money that's irreversible, that can't be charged back. Those funds are gone. And until that user experience is perfected and improved upon, I think you're going to see really slow adoption on the RFP side of it.
Justin, you've got off lightly so far.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree completely. The user experience and things like that. One of the other things that I think is going to change paradoxically is essentially that the new KYC is going to become your ID, right? Because they got to make sure it's you. Is it biometrics? Is it Palm Pay? Whatever the case may be, because no longer is it about your ID or your PAN or whatever it is that you're using for a credit card or ACH. Because that money's gone, you better make sure you know who it is, right? And of course, there's going to be some of those things in place, but like you say, I think it will get clunky for a while because everybody will be very worried about their ID, right? Making sure they are who they are, all those things. Once that's sort of solved, I think that's really actually where the next place goes. And I think that everybody's going to be involved, including the MasterCards and Visas of the world, because when there becomes an irrevocable payment type, it's going to change the whole world, right? So
yeah, that's a good point. I think that collapsing of the KYC with the payments, because all of that information, I mean, it's the same. A lot of that same information is accessible. It's a good point.
But that's in and out, though, right? Isn't it? With the KYC in, and then also on payout is going to be really important.
Yeah, going out is a little more verifiable because it's the company who's sending it. We're saying, yeah, look, we're good with sending our money to, Justin, and we know him and whatever. That sort of, it's more that money coming in. I mean, I was thinking like Whole Foods, that new Palm Pay, like, I haven't seen anyone ever use it there. It looks really cool. I haven't signed up
just
for it.
Send me a $10 coupon to try that out. So
I'm in. As soon as I get that coupon, I'm doing it.
Sponsored by
But it
PayNearMe.
becomes really, like that becomes, you're identifying me. They don't care what payment type, it's me, right? So I think that'll be part of it.
Steve, operator's view. Are there specific advantages to you? Are the players demanding it? Are they asking for it? Do they know it's out there?
Absolutely. Liron can probably echo this. It's been the number one thing that customers have been requesting for a long time. That's the payout side. So RTP, Visa Direct, MasterCard Send. They want their money as quick as they put it in. So we're definitely adapting and evolving and paying out players quicker than, say 5 years ago. On the pay-in side, while less visually sexy, I would say customers would benefit more from that. The average customer doesn't understand, having to wait 1 to 2 business days for funds to come out of their account. Funds coming out of their account immediately will help them, manage their finances a lot better. So, things are very much in demand from a customer perspective at the operators.
But just to follow up on that, but is it as I hear you speak there, it's more the speed, that's what the customers are demanding versus the actual rail or the actual instrument. Is that what you're
Speed, for sure. They don't know
what that is. They don't care.
Yeah, they don't know anything about the rails, but they just want their money quick.
Right. And ideally you want to have that speed across every single tender type that matches to the deposit instrument, because if they use PayPal in, they're going to want to use PayPal out.
Spot on. Yeah.
Thank you. Starting back with you, Tiago, but how are payment services assisting operators with fraud information and prevention strategies? Do they have strategies that are benefiting the operators?
So again, we, as you know, a global provider. We work with many gaming companies, and they use many different payment methods. Some of our clients have 80 payment methods, especially the global based in Europe. So we have to work with them all. One of my favorite things about the English language, obviously not being a native speaker, it's not
being the first language you speak.
Yeah, it's not just a funky accent. No, it's just that it's not my first language. I love the new word I've learned is co-opetition. As in it's like collaboration and competition. And I really think that in the payments world, that's more important than ever. I think APIs, data is the key. And I'm not just talking about payment integration via APIs to process payments. That's been around for a long time. I mean, it's providing the other information, and you see more technologically advanced payment methods. I mean, your company, others around like Trustly, etc. Like they have APIs for everything. So from centralized data point of view, it's much easier. So like I'm talking about like reporting APIs, for instance. You can get a list of all your transactions, etc., getting all of that. So making data available for platforms that centralize it, that control, that mine. But even for simple things like if you want to do a query and get your data all over using Power BI, you have finance professionals of today are tech people, you know? Everybody knows how to use computers, everybody knows how to use data tools and coding a little bit in Python. If you're in finance, that's your day-to-day now. And I think data is key and collaborating. Make your data available, don't panic about it. I think it's really important.
Thank you.
Yeah, I actually want to comment on that. I think I couldn't agree with you more. And I think in context of getting the customer experience and giving the customers their money back as quickly as possible, part of it is what does the technology allows, but fraud and risk play a big role in how quickly the money can change sides. And probably the type of solution that Tiago is referring to is not difficult technologically, but it will require a lot of paradigm shifts and a lot of adaptation and a lot of changes in how we all perceive the fraud prevention and our ability to really prevent fraud effectively.
How are you?
If you allow me just to comment, I also think that the players demand payouts quick, right? That's the thing. We all agree on that. That's also to do with the experience of being in low-risk things like e-commerce, right? You buy something on Amazon, you want your money back, it was magic, you know, like it's spot on, made the video. This is a different game here, you know, money in, money out, high risk. And I guess that is the problem, you know, like from a user point of view, Leighton is always talking about CX, you know, customer experience is very, very important. But it's also highlight, because if you are, I don't know, putting your money on an investment platform, you accept your payment taking 3-4 days to come back to you because, oh no, it's a bank, it needs to be secure, it's an investment thing. But because there is the perception that gaming is a bit e-commercey, then you're like, they want it fast. So it's how you change that. I mean, I don't think you can change what the customer wants. The customer wants what the customer wants. But it's how do you adapt to it while maintaining security? Because the bad guys are not disappearing, you know? Bad guys are still out there, and you can't be paying money out to random people. So again, KYC being absolute key, but then being, you know, you can't just take that risk, you know?
So obviously KYC is key, but, and Leighton, to you the next question, you know, how do we see this role of technology and maybe AI playing into how do us as payment companies can support the operators?
Yeah, I mean AI. That's a broad term, and it's kind of a wide open question. And I think it's one of those terms that also gets used to apply to solve any sort of problem that exists. But I think there are a couple of key areas. Obviously, risk and fraud is an obvious one. So risk and fraud can be a very manual process for operators today, because what they're looking for, so what are they trying to do? They're trying to detect things that they don't know exist, right? So they're trying to figure out, is this a pattern that looks abnormal? Is this something that I should be aware of? Should I block this transaction, et cetera? So obviously AI, through machine learning, speeds up that process. It gives humans the ability to make those decisions not at all. They're made on an automated fashion, or to be able to make that decision much more quickly. Because on the disbursement side, I always think of disbursements. The gate on disbursements isn't the payment rail. It's that human intervention to review those transactions before it goes out. So we all agree that receiving funds instantly is paramount for the user. The payment rail is already there to be able to do that. That delay, that gap is the human intervention. So AI is a clear area that'll speed that up and improve upon it. One that isn't kind of directly related to the topic of this panel is responsible gaming. So being able to predict patterns, being able to predict, does someone have a problem? Should we change the limits, for example? Should we suggest a cooling off period to really get ahead of the responsible gaming issue? I think that's the second main area that AI, but you know, more pervasively, I think it impacts everything, right? It speeds up and automates a lot of things that, in particular in gaming and gambling, do take a lot of human intervention because of the sophistication of it, because of the differences in e-commerce, and the fact that you're under constant assault from fraudsters trying to figure out and game the system. So they're trying to stay a step ahead of you. So AI just gives you more data, more insights to be able to either automate or make better decisions on how you operate your business.
Thank you. Justin, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I will take a note out of Adam Greenblatt's speaking yesterday that he said AI is certainly involved or investing in it, but I really don't know. I don't think anybody really knows exactly how it's going to work out. It's a great tool for a lot of reasons. Sometimes data, alerts, all these different things are happening, and everybody's trying to harness it, but it's just not harnessed yet, right? But I think it will always be a part of our ecosystem going forward. It's just a matter of how. And I liked when Adam said, I just don't really know the answer to that. And then I will also say the same thing. I don't know exactly what the answer will be.
Come back this time next year when we've all worked it out.
Payments 3.0.
Totally in the car park. So we're talking really about collaboration. And, I think there's how we collectively manage the implementation of restrictions on these common practices. Leighton's just called out responsible gaming. Obviously, it's becoming much more of a conversation. Sharing of data is going to become much more important across operators, maybe even across different organizations. Justin, I'm going to come to you on this. Like, considering the importance of data sharing for effective fraud prevention and risk management, do you see an increase in cross-platform collaboration? Has that started for you guys already?
Yeah, I think we do some of that today. I think there can be improvements on several different levels. One is between the operator and the payment provider, right? Because we don't always know exactly what you want, and we always think, we'll give you these reports and it'll be great and you can reconcile and then you can figure it all out, right? Well, ultimately, we don't really know your business as well as you do, so having that communication back and forth from there is great. As far as other things, platforms, whether it's a PAM, it's a platform provider, a gateway, whatever the case may be, it seems like everybody kind of tries to guess at what everybody wants versus like kind of sitting down in a room and saying, what do we really need? Like what would really help with fraud or, payment friction factors that we're running into or payout speed and all those things. We were all in such a rush over the last 5 years because the states were coming on and everybody's just like, I got to have payments and I got to have payouts and I got to have them tomorrow. I think now as we're maturing as an industry, I think there'll be more interaction or should be between all the parties involved to try to figure out how that is. And companies like yours might be able to help all of us do that a little more efficiently, frankly. So here's your card for you. I'm giving out your card too, but nonetheless, I do think that is coming and you're right on.
The person knows, but the same to you, Tiago. What's your thoughts?
No, I completely agree. So, as in, and you see this happening elsewhere. So again, banking, SWIFT introduced in 2202, right? So standardization of data, companies talking to companies in a language that other company also understands, right? And that makes a big difference. What we're talking about is, especially in the payments industry, there's so much relationship between payment companies, depends where you sit. Like in some markets you can be acquiring, in the other market you're just processing, etc. So you're all reliant on each other, right? And ultimately the banking infrastructure supporting everything. From what we see, I think sharing data in the most efficient way is key. Like obviously what we do, we harvest data from everybody else and try to centralize it in a way to support the operation of the ultimate customer. But in the end of the day, data sharing for me is absolute key. That's what's going to make a mega difference.
So let's ask the operators how you feel about sharing the data and being more collaborative, and how does that build into your technology and your product strategy?
Data sharing, these two words could be many different things, They sound sometimes very frightening, but I think when used for the power of good, that could be very effective. And I also have an accent, so and I'm new to this country, and I learned about the credit score. So that we don't need to go too far. Like the country identified at some point, we need to know who are we lending money to and how much and with what interest rates. And there was a system that developed, and I'm sure it wasn't easy and wasn't quick, and probably took a long time, and probably still causes friction, but it solves a big part of the problem. And it comes when regulation comes into place. So sometimes regulation can actually be a good thing, when it forces things that are actually for the consumer, and then it makes it also easy as an operator to protect your customers. And if there's one data source, one API that I can go to and check, okay, is this customer likely to have a gambling problem? Is this customer likely to become fraud? And I get a very reliable response, I'm in a better position to actually protect my business and protect my customers. So it requires data sharing. There's no other way.
Steve?
There's actually a lot of really great data sharing happening already with the likes of, Leighton, Justin, and other companies on the payment side of things with the operators. So we get to understand a lot of things, everything from evaluating a customer from a fraud perspective to responsible gambling, which we've already talked about. Has this player charged back before to, this IP or this device has been associated with chargebacks or some fraud that we've seen before. So on the other side of things, like every time we talk to, these payment companies, they have some new sort of data that they might want to share with us, which is, really, really helpful in evolving, those fraud and responsible gambling sorts of tasks that we have as an operator. So, we're looking really great in that space, and it continues to evolve.
So Payments 2.0 is simple, fast, and collaborative, which I thought Payments 1.0 was, but so we've got a few minutes left. I'm going to do with a quick time filler. We're sat here at SBC 2027, in 3 years' time, on this panel. What are we all talking about? Who wants to take that?
I think it'll be RFP and how that's integrated into the ecosystem. I just think to me, that's my crystal ball says that's what's coming.
Yeah, hopefully it's more banks buying into that. FedNow, RTP. We don't want any of our users to be left out of that sort of fast, instant system. Additionally and more boldly, like maybe we start seeing some more, acquisitions, mergers, et cetera, at the payments level. Obviously, we're currently seeing that at the operator level, myself included, a couple different times over the last year. Twice in 1 year. But maybe we start seeing that on the payment side of things. And, with the development of RFP, FedNow, MasterCard Send, Visa Direct, we didn't talk about A&I, account name inquiry, like those sorts of things on the card side. Maybe an ACH-based company likes what they see from a card perspective, and then maybe a card, based company might like what they see from an ACH perspective, and they, move into the other side of the space.
Leighton, any thoughts?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is a simplification of the user experience. And what do I mean by that is really a collapsing. I think there's this huge opportunity to collapse the KYC with the payments experience. Like, why are those two things separate? Like, if I'm logging into my bank clearly has my social security number, all the details about me. Why is there this separate step? Because every step impacts the operator, right? It's more work, it's more onerous for the player. So that's my prediction, is we'll see that collapse in some form or fashion.
From my point of view, I think is bringing the innovations and the fantastic things of Payments 2.0 that are very good in a local level, but bringing that to a cross-border level. I think international payments, cross-border payments are very, very slow compared to local payments, and I think that's where the big innovation is going to come from over the next years. You have, again, I think from a back office point of view, it's starting to happen, that innovation. Again, Swift driving it, etc., the banks driving it. But then I think it's up to the fintechs to now taking it to the end user, not just to the payment companies themselves. So that's why I expect innovation to happen.
I think we'll be talking about the same things.
Cancel 2027, folks.
It's a slow pace industry. It's not moving as quickly as it could, and I think a lot of the biggest advantages or improvements we're going to see are going to be on the back of regulation progress.
Amazing. I'm sorry, everyone. We're at time.
All thanks to our moderator.
Did anybody have any questions?
So question is for RFP. So do you think RFP will impact the credit card users with iGaming? So this is regarding RFP.
do you think the RFP will impact the credit card usage in iGaming? Or is it a patron demand or some operator demand?
So I don't think the average user will probably understand too much with RFP. I do think that open online banking in general, when RFP comes into play along with RTP, will have an impact on credit card deposits. And that sort of leaves it up to, the networks and the acquirers and the issuers to start innovating themselves, which they are doing. But if things were to stay the way they are, I do think that an RFP-based product could severely impact credit card deposits.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.